I'm your host, Jenna Bush with Legion of Leia.
I'm Silas Lesnick with ComingSoon.net.
And I'm Eric Eisenberg with Cinema Blend.
And we are so psyched to have you guys here. If you have questions for us, make sure you tweet the stream TV, forget the dot, and use the hashtag SupergirlAS. Okay, so what did you guys think of the episode?
I was just happy to have it come back. It's weird how long it's been. It's been since the whole crossover happened.
Yeah.
We've had a new episode of Supergirl.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And it was a fun episode. I mean, this is the second one that we've seen, Arrowverse episode from Kevin Smith. It's kind of nice to see him return. Got a little bit of kind of references, which I'm sure we'll be talking about. But it's a fun show. I mean, honestly, like of all of the Arrowverse shows, Supergirl has become my favorite, which is kind of weird considering it's also the one that's completely detached from all the rest of them. But it's such a fun show, and I thought this was another really prime episode. So.
Yeah, I absolutely love the show. This week, obviously, like you said, it was directed by Kevin Smith, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. And there was you caught a reference in there.
I did catch a reference. For the scene where Kara and Mon-El are on the desert planet, which I'm already forgetting the name of, so good start. But when they are talking with this weird alien creature who has kind of captured them in a tent, Mon-El calls him a Thagnarian snare beast, which is actually a reference to Kevin Smith's Superman Lives script that was never produced. But like the story is all over. He has this big presentation thing called An Evening with Kevin Smith, and he tells this long story about the development of his Superman Lives script, and the Thagnarian snare beast is one of these weird creations that he comes up with out of like forcing from producer John Peters. It's a really hilarious story, but it was his opportunity to kind of like, now that he's actually making a Superman-esque story, has an opportunity to include this cool alien that he decided to make. So yeah, no, I thought that was a really nice little reference.
That's awesome. He also included something else. He included his daughter.
He did.
His daughter, who is like a living DC Comics reference.
Yes,
yeah.
Because she is Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, yes, Harley Quinn Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Playing the role of Izzy, the kidnapped girl.
Izzy, the kidnapped girl. And we definitely want to hear from you guys. So if you do have questions, make sure you tweet with SupergirlAS. So, Mon-El, he may be someone other than we thought he was.
They sort of hinted at that in the finale last time.
Yeah. There've been kind of like little, even between like the flashback to when he was actually leaving the planet, there's been constantly this kind of question, not to mention, of course, those guys at the end who show up. They've been looking for him, so clearly there is something sinister going on. But yeah, like when the Dominator decided not to shoot him and that other alien says like, you don't touch him, it's like, what exactly is going on there?
Somebody's the prince.
It seems like it's probably like a runaway prince. That, he said in this episode he didn't really like that Dexamites have slaves, and there's lots of things about the world that he doesn't enjoy, and I can see it be, he has this big position of responsibility on this planet, and he doesn't want it, so he's run off, and now he wants to be a superhero.
Yeah, I mean, that's another point, though, is that we've seen this character for his entire existence on the show completely shirk any kind of responsibility. Obviously, we'll get to the discussions at the end, but like this, I mean, even this entire episode, like more than just not being a superhero, he gets a job as a bartender in the alien bar and then just decides not to show up. I mean, so he is extremely flighty as a character, which certainly leads into all of these theories.
Will you please tell me that he is going to be fired from the bar? Because seriously, like, I would like to have a job where the second day I could just go, hey, you know what, I just feel like taking off today. I don't feel like doing any work.
Yeah, well, Catco, get in the booth.
Catco.
I suspect that job probably is able to get bartenders easily, because all those aliens that come there theoretically can't work anywhere else.
That is a very good point. I'm actually surprised that all of the bartenders look pretty human.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's weird.
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
All right, you're very good.
I did find it rude how Supergirl ordered, though. She ordered her club soda like before. He was like under the bar doing something. So she was surprised when he popped up.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. But you know, she's Supergirl. She can do whatever she wants.
I have to ask, well, what do you guys think of that relationship in terms of romance? Because I'm personally not sold on it, and I've honestly got the sense that no real fan is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sold on it either. And I wanted her with Jimmy. I'm fine. It's fine. I'm good. But I don't really see it because I kind of feel like he's a goofball, and she wouldn't buy that. I get that like there's they have things in common, but not enough.
Yeah, like you can't just the fact that they're both humanoid aliens living on Earth isn't really, and especially and like I guess the star-crossed lovers being from Daxon and Krypton, it does seem a little bit too flat. And I mean, clearly, I think the reveals of what's going to happen with this character are going to change that dynamic in a certain direction, but we'll see how that plays out.
Don't Romeo and Juliet them.
Right.
Please don't do that. No. She doesn't need a boyfriend. It's fine.
I sort of feel that way in general. It's like I don't really want Supergirl to be in a relationship at all.
Yeah.
Like, it just isn't important.
It's not that we don't want her to be happy. It's not. It's just that. I don't think I need to see that.
No, and also there are other romantic relationships
on
the show.
Somewhere else in the story, and that's fine.
Exactly.
You know what I want? I want Kat to come back, and I want her to find somebody. That would make me happy, and not Harrison Ford.
I was about to say Harrison Ford can make some kind of cameo here. It'd be amazing.
Seriously though, that was the cutest reference in season 1, where she's like, "No, Harrison Ford, I don't date older men, and especially not ones who are married."
There you go. Yeah.
Well, that's actually one of the weird things about just like we were talking about some of the pop culture references, and it's interesting the way like the multiverse works. It's interesting, Jay and Silent Bob, Kevin Smith's characters, they exist in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Like they're in Daredevil comics.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting to see his daughter here as like, well, she's clearly not the View Askew version of who works at the A to Z from Yoga Hosers, but. It could easily cross over.
That's true, and I would not be surprised if it did. But yeah, I agree about the romance thing. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I just and also I guess we could talk about the pop culture references because we found a few.
Yeah, there was a few in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the tenets of sort of all of the Arrowverse shows is.
Oh yeah.
A lot of
reality.
And Star Trek with the red shirts.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the big one, kind of this episode with Winn saying like that he's not the red shirt, not the red shirt. And what's weird actually specifically about this episode, and it reminded me, and it wasn't directly referenced, but I did kind of get for the first time, get weird Xander vibes from Buffy onto Winn. It's like because that is when I think of that character, he's the guy without superpowers, the guy unable to really step into the battle, and he gets freaked out in this episode. He literally faces death, and he has that kind of same sense of humor, kind of defense mechanism. I'm not trying to draw too many comparisons between Winn and Xander.
But now that you say that does make sense.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, because what's interesting about the way that, and it's kind of contrast to what the Arrowverse shows do, which is Xander didn't over the course of that show didn't become superpowered. Like he didn't. He had Willow become a witch and all this yada yada yada. But Xander stayed non-superpowered, and just given the way that Arrowverse shows tend to work, where everybody eventually becomes a superhero, we've seen it with Jimmy Olsen obviously in this season. I'm curious if they will keep Winn as kind of just the more grounded guy. So and I kind of hope they do, because that's obviously a really interesting dynamic to play with.
You do need to have some people who are not superheroes.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, his route into that will be his father.
Right, Toymaker, sure.
Right.
Yes.
Toyman, yeah.
Toyman, yeah.
And the other pop culture references, I wrote them down. The Night Of.
The Night Of, which she and her sister watch, which is sort of fun.
They have excellent taste in TV going through. I just marathoned everything again. And then we had
There's a Stargate reference.
Black Lung.
Oh, the Black Line.
Zoolander.
Zoolander, sure.
Yeah, and Stargate.
And Stargate with the obviously kind of more direct reference in there, but.
It did look like a Stargate. I mean, half a Stargate.
Exactly, yeah. It's just a little bit more oval, I guess, half egg shaped than the big circle, but.
And we did mention something as we were watching it about destroying technology. Please don't do that.
Kara's immediate idea to as soon as she gets out of the portal, just destroy it. Yeah.
No, don't do that. I don't.
Especially when presumably this has been happening for some time, and
And
are
also,
there other human slaves that got taken off the Earth and are just on?
Maybe you want to go back and save them.
Right. Yeah, and also the DEO, presumably they could find some uses for a portal that can go to alien planets at whim. So
we need more sunshine bombs. Is that what we call them?
Yellow sun grenades. I believe
Sun grenades.
Yes.
Sunshine bombs is what I'm calling them.
Yeah, that's fine. It's good.
Yes. No, sun grenades. We need more of those. But I feel like that would be a place you'd want to go back to. Plus, if the technology works from the other side, then they can still get slaves
access,
somewhere else. You zap it as you're walking through.
I also want to throw out, it's cool to see the show go to another planet.
Yeah.
And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did this
last season, yeah.
And it's just a nice way of upping the feel of the show to make it feel that much bigger.
And what's cool about this one also is the fact that it is obviously a gigantic sci-fi leap. That being said, in this episode, it wasn't like a super sci-fi leap. Obviously, you have the yellow sun, you have a few aliens roaming around, but you do keep it grounded enough that you don't obviously blow out the budget. But this is kind of those kind of sci-fi leaps that you can reasonably take on a cable basic cable show. And yeah, no, I think like I love that exploration, and it's something that is obviously limited within television. You don't have the budgets of the movies, which can space hop as much as they want. But if you can have the opportunity to do something like this, where you get to go full-blown extraterrestrial, do it. And yeah, they did a good job with it.
Hey, Star Trek did it in red shirt.
Yeah,
Sorry, that just made me really happy. And then, of course, we have Roulette.
Roulette's
back
the return
again.
of Roulette, yeah.
And I love her. Not the actress.
She's great. I will say her role in this one was a touch limited. Yeah.
Small. But now she's trapped.
Yes, that's true.
Unless the other side of the portal works.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, like, it may just be like, it may be like clogging an elevator. Like, it may be like, oh, I guess we'll have to go use the other portal.
And James Urbaniak was trapped in the cell with her, and he apparently got out only to die. So I guess it's like presumably she's out and about again wearing that dress.
Yes, that is the same dress.
It's the same dress that we saw in the first half of the season.
She has new diamonds.
Yeah, there you go.
Not a new dress.
Not a new dress.
I don't know. Maybe that planet doesn't make a lot of clothing that would really suit her.
But I mean, it's a comic book kind of thing. Like these guys, yeah. I mean,
she's got it's her super villain outfit.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, all right. Yeah. I mean, Supergirl doesn't like change outfits.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, we were speculating on where we put the skirt when we dress in them.
Yeah, that was a weird scene.
The shoes. Like, same thing with Superman. It's like Superman wears big red shoes under his clothes.
Yeah, that, like, and it happened like almost right in camera too, which is weird in this episode where she just suddenly goes, like when she's about to dive into the portal, she just goes straight from Kara into Supergirl, and you're just like, okay. This is like that.
I was actually kind of surprised she stayed as Kara when she went to the labs, because it's sort of like there's a lot of people just wandering around back here that like they don't need to know who you are in your everyday life.
That is a good point.
Presumably, you can trust them because they work for this super secret organization.
Right, of course.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think of a perfect reference being like The Dark Knight, where you have this guy trying to blackmail Bruce Wayne because he's Batman. It's like, yeah, like just when you should be careful with your secret identity. It's kind of important. So.
Yeah, and speaking of secret identity, all right, let's talk about Alex and Maggie.
Yes.
And what Maggie now knows, because that's and it made me feel good because I know that we talk all the time about like willing suspension of disbelief and that, but I want people to know because I know, and it's just a pair of glasses. I've always felt that about Superman, and I love Superman, and I love Supergirl. But glasses, that's all.
One of my favorite explanations is that Superman and Supergirl presumably has like a latent telepathic ability. Ooh. And they're telling people, even though they don't consciously mean to be doing it, they're not the same person.
Oh,
and the other argument I'd throw out is, why do you think there is a secret identity? I mean, like,
why do you assume they're not just flying around all the time?
You don't see like George Clooney and be like, but I wonder who he really is.
I do. I've never wondered that ever. No, but that's true. And I did, like in season 1 when Kat was like, "You're Supergirl," I was like, oh, she's very smart. She's very, very smart.
But then they did the Martian Manhunter kind of Death of Superman trick that ended up like, which is it's a really cool thing, and like especially if you have Martian Manhunter on your show, use him like that. So
him.
I totally appreciate that. But I feel like we should talk a bit about the Maggie-Alex relationship because. I really like it. I think it's great. That being said, in this episode, I did not think that it was necessarily fully utilized.
It felt a little manufactured, the drama, because they're happy. Just let them be happy.
Right.
Please just let them be happy. I like them. I know it's TV. We have to.
And it's just, and also it's just. I mean, in the first half of this season, you already had the back and forth of like Maggie saying like, I don't just want to be the girl that you turn for, and like I don't know that you want to jump into this. Like, so we've already had so much like back and forth. Like you just kind of say like, okay, just have a relationship now. Don't just like get in and then get immediately out, only to get back in at the end of the episode. It just seems a bit trite, and I really like that relationship. So just stick with it.
Yeah, it does seem like in the last episode they went through a lot of this exact same thing, and they could have come out with it. I don't know. It felt like something that was just for this episode rather than.
It did, and I think that there's that. I mean, I totally get the whole I'm happy, so that means everything's gonna go to shit. I have that.
Sure.
But I think that it was sort of she overcame something, which was sort of a parallel to Winn's story.
Sure.
And I get that, but they're too damn cute. Leave them alone.
Right.
That's my statement on that.
Exactly.
It is nice though to just get it out that like she already knows, because
exactly. Yes.
It is one of those things where it's like I like their relationship and I want it to be a trusting relationship, and it is sort of a weird moral question of like, well, if it's somebody else's secret, is it right to share, even though it's such an important part of her life?
Yeah,
it's kind of done though. Like I mean, like it's like. We've seen, that's in superhero. That's every single secret origin story. Yeah, exactly. It's just like you can get past that. You don't need it, and you can have just opportunities to explore other things, which is nice.
Yeah, and I like that she has a group of people around her who know who she is. I think that's really important because I think that it's been so overplayed that, oh no, you'll learn my secret identity.
Right.
And now that you don't have to worry about it, that's great. Like that makes
it opens the opportunity for. I mean, it allows Maggie to kind of be more involved with the plot because they're not constantly just trying to hide this big secret from her. But it's also, again, like the glasses thing is just kind of silly. So like it eventually gets to a point. I mean, because it was honestly the same thing with Arrow and Flash and that too. It's like eventually it gets to a point where you're just like, why aren't you figuring it out? And I kind of think less of you as a character for not figuring it out. So yeah,
that's my problem honestly with Jimmy Olsen as Guardian. Is at the beginning of this episode, it's like, wait a minute, two guys got away from Supergirl. Like, why? Why did you guys get away from Supergirl? Why can't she hear them? Why can't she hear that Guardian is nearby stopping them and then fly over as soon as she's done?
Yeah.
It takes away from her to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I like the idea of Guardian. I just think it could be used a little bit differently.
Sure.
And once everyone knows, then they work as a team. It's very Smallville. I like it.
It works. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's.
I will also throw out about Winn. I kind of was worried at the end of the episode that maybe he learned the wrong lesson because. At the beginning, he knocks the guy with the door, the guy falls down, and he's cheering, and the guy gets up and beats him up.
And nearly pulls a gun on him, nearly kills him, yeah.
So for the whole episode, he's like, oh, I can't do this, I'm too scared. And then at the end, like, almost the exact same thing happens, and he starts cheering again. And it's like, well, maybe the lesson was don't be cocky. Not do anything.
You can do this, yes, right.
No, like, that was a little. But I love Winn. Winn makes me very happy.
Likewise.
I guess I love everybody on the show. I've said that for pretty much every character, but it's our first episode.
Yeah.
So, but and then I did want to talk a little bit about Jimmy Olsen because he was barely in this episode.
Yeah, you got very little exposure.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before the show about how he sort of has that role, like Kat's role, just to write stories
about the Guardian. Yeah, and especially at the beginning of this episode where he has that kind of interaction with Snapper Carr, he just drops off a story. Again, a Guardian story, and like you do want to start to see him take on kind of a bigger role because presumably the Catco does a bit more than just printing superhero stories. So like you would, I mean, just as far as exploring his character more, because the thing is like, yeah, it's cool that we now have the dynamic that exists with him being the Guardian and being out there and kind of hiding from Kara-El, but you know, you need more on the other side of the character as well, and so far we haven't really been getting it, but plenty of opportunity. Long season.
And I want to see like the classic like Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen comics. Like Jimmy Olsen should be having silly adventures. He should be like getting really fat or like transformed into a monkey. Like weird stuff is like what happens to Jimmy Olsen in the classic Jimmy Olsen comics.
Transformed into a monkey is my favorite.
I like that a lot. Yeah, next time just Superman comes by, they should just have some kind of big ass goofy
Mr.
adventure.
Mxyzptlk is coming to.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, we could do a little talking about what's coming up for us on Supergirl because first of all we've got the musical episode.
Oh yeah, which again,
which is like a Glee reunion.
And I mean, it's also like just a staple of basically, like it feels like at this point, if you're a cable show that's been on for a certain amount of time, you eventually just find your way to do a musical episode. Is it gonna be? It's a crossover too, right?
Yeah,
with Flash. So yeah, like I mean, that's very exciting because it obviously allows the entire creative team to kind of flex a different kind of creative muscle, and if they can come up with great songs, that's a winner that you can just take home with you.
Yeah, not all musical episodes are good.
No.
And I would even say, I mean, I think the gold standard is the Buffy.
I was going to say Buffy again, just bringing that back into it, but I didn't want to repeat the reference.
Even that episode is not long enough.
No.
It gets to the end and it's all wrapped up very, very quickly. Where like Xander's just like, oh, it's my fault. I'm kind of excited to see like an hour-long. Or 2 hour, because it's like 90 minutes with the commercials.
Yeah. And did they say that there'll be more? There's more singing on the Flash side, from what I read. But yeah, I'm very excited.
I say they should get the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend folks over and take it.
I think the next time they do a giant crossover, it should be all 5 nights and should just go into Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
That'd be pretty great. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. But yeah, and you at least know that everyone will be able to sing. We have seen this before.
Right, sure.
So I'm totally okay with that. And Livewire is back.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one,
week.
Sure, yeah.
So what else? What do you guys want to see in the second half of the season?
More silly stuff. Mr. Mixer-Felix makes me really happy.
Yeah,
Music
cool.
Meister makes me really happy. I want to see Streaky, the orange cat of Supergirl. Comet, the super horse. Like
I have a stuffed Streaky. Yeah.
I just want to see I like the like 60s and 70s like the
Silver
silly,
Age, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that fits with this show though, because it does have there's a sweetness about this. More so than the rest
Well,
of them.
I was going to say is that like there is kind of a tonal shift as you go through the week of these CW shows. And clearly, like Arrow is like the darkest of the dark. Then probably Legends of Tomorrow. Then like Flash used to be kind of the bright, happy show.
Yeah.
But now I think this one has really kind of taken on that mantle. And that's again like what I really like about it, because that's part of what I like about superhero stories in general. Is like especially when it comes to like Superman and Supergirl, because this is a character who lives to like bring hope and save people, and that's exactly what this show should be. So yes, keep that tone.
I think in a way that's why I don't want to see her in a relationship.
Yeah.
And not that I wish bad things upon her, but she's just so happy, and I don't want to see that kind of drama.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's tricky all around. It's just like, we were talking about Deadpool and just like, you know, I don't want to not see Marina Baccarin in the sequel, but at the same time, like, I don't want to see the adventures of Deadpool and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not the
Because that's not how
Yeah.
the comics work all the time. The comics, like, not every issue is also going to have a romantic subplot that you have to feed into. Sometimes you just go separate. And and Supergirl, she doesn't need a boyfriend. Like, it's
No,
completely
she
fine.
does not. She does not need a man. Well, no, it is sort of interesting that a lot of shows and movies are sort of going that way. Like, look at the last few Disney princesses. It's not about romance so much. It's more about just her adventures.
Sure.
So, you know, I mean, or she could meet someone like the little hints of it are fine, but I just don't want to see love story drama.
Well, part of it is like you don't want your characters to be happy, and, like as an audience. You want them to keep going through things.
Yeah.
So as soon as you have a true love for any character, you do run into I guess it's like the classic like Cheers, Sam and Diane problem.
Yeah, yep. Jumping the shark and the whole, Oh, Moonlighting. That was the first one I ever remember watching. They hooked him up and like, damn it, it's not good anymore. It's not good anymore.
Yeah.
But so we have a couple questions.
Yeah, I've got some.
Let me check in too on Twitter.
If
you have any questions that you'd like us to talk about, just tweet us right now. Just use the hashtag SupergirlAS for Aftershow, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Indeed. And I did plug from the Supergirl official Twitter and from the Supergirl writers. People were asking questions, so I decided to pluck a few from there. One is, does Mon-El die before the end of the season? Let's speculate on that a little bit.
Wow. I guess that'll depend if they hook him up. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, also just given the direction that his character is going, where obviously you're leading to this big reveal, maybe superhero, supervillain. We'll see which side he ends up on before the end of it.
If he ends up as a villain, I have a feeling they'll keep him alive. If he does not end up as a villain, he'll sacrifice himself heroically for something. I don't know. I just made that up. I completely made that up. I have no idea.
Well, given his trajectory.
My theory, just knowing what we know about him, where he's like he's theoretically a nice guy, but he doesn't really have the commitment, is I suspect that by the end of the season he will go back and lead his people with an effort of leading them to the good.
He doesn't have any people. The Daxon got destroyed.
Well, go back to whatever these people are planning.
Okay,
He'll take whatever responsibility he was shirking and live up to it. So he could come back later, maybe not.
I like both of those as just kind of a good feed from everything that we've seen in this character so far. Those are both really good directions that both either kill him or don't kill him. Yeah, I like that. I'm not even going to contribute to it because that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like if you guys have theories on that, you can tweet us during the week too, because I'm curious what everyone thinks.
Should I go another one? You got
Yeah, unless you have one.
Well, I guess we already talked about this one. I guess sad that Jimmy Olsen has Kat's job, so we can only write about how cool Guardian is. Can they just kill him off? Again, another kill-off question. I don't want them to kill off Jimmy Olsen, though. I think that's a monster mistake because, why would you kill him off just because he doesn't really know how to run a newspaper?
Well, I mean, he's there temporarily. Just bring back Kat.
That's true.
Then he can take pictures again and turn into a monkey, and it'll be great.
Yeah, then you can just have him being more of the superhero sidekick as opposed to, okay.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem nearly as stressed as Kat was. I feel like, maybe...
The fact that he's able to have a side job as a superhero, I feel like Kat probably did not have time for that stuff.
No, I don't think he does either. I think maybe he's not doing a good job. Demote him.
I would like to throw in, I like Stamper Carr, too.
Yes.
Ian Gomez. I really like Cougar Town. which he was fantastic on.
Oh, and also he's the host of the Great American Baking Show.
I haven't seen that one.
No.
I have watched all the cooking shows that exist, and I can't cook, just throwing that out there. But he's so adorable on it, and it's so...
And I like his little turnaround at the end of this episode,
Yeah.
too, where he's just like, go get him. Yeah. it's
Yeah,
just fun.
but watching him angry is really funny.
Yeah.
It cracks
Well, I
me
mean,
up.
it is clearly also behind a closed door. He's not letting go of that, like, kind of harsh personality
Oh,
anytime
yeah.
soon.
And he
so.
did mention baking, so he keeps
there you
mentioning,
go,
like,
yeah.
like snack foods and
His
baking.
Danishes,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, it's adorable.
There you go.
You know, that's another reference. He mentioned a Danish.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm-
we'll consider that. Yeah, sure, lock it in.
very important.
And I'll just go with this last one, which is where is Lena Luthor? Which is interesting just because of where kind of the end of the mid-season finale kind of left that character, because yeah, she actually did something kind of right, which is nice to see.
I like her. Plus, Katie McGrath was in Merlin. I watched Merlin, and I think she's wonderful. And she's a Star Wars fan, by the way.
There you go.
Just throwing. But I actually really like her character. It's been sort of fun to watch where she's going to go, and you're not quite sure, and which is something that Katie McGrath happens to be particularly good at, which she did in Merlin too. So I don't know. Do you guys think she'll end up as a good guy or a bad guy?
I don't think it's right to. I mean, well, you also have her mom being part of Cadmus. I guess she did just betray her,
Yeah.
but it's Luthor. Like, I don't think it's
Yeah.
acceptable to have her on fighting for the side of good.
Just so super, super, super nice. All right, well, guys, we would love to hear from you and hear what you thought of this week's episode, and of course, join us next week for the episode.
And I will give a shout out to Lance Offresser, who runs our Facebook page, which there's going to be a link on the somewhere around here where you can click on it and join up.
Of course, make sure to subscribe and follow the Stream TV on Twitter. Thank you, guys.
We're going.